Adidas. Adidas with fat laces. But it wasn't just Adidas at that time. Puma was in the game too. So you either had a fresh pair of Puma or a fresh pair of Adidas with fat laces in them. And I remember the whole breakdancing thing was on fire at that time in '84. But I also remember going to Madison Square Garden to watch Run-D.M.C at the Fresh Fest about 1984. And there were other acts on that show. For those who remember, it was Houdini, LL Cool J, Fat Boys. Yeah, it was like one of the first major hip hop concerts back in '84. And when you think of '84 and you think of hip hop music back then, you don't really think of hip hop music having violence associated with it. But on the contrary, there was a lot of violence back then, at least when I was in Madison Square Garden watching the Fresh Fest. Now, one thing that you would only know if you were there is that you'd go to this concert at the Garden, major event. Can't believe there's so many people out here coming to watch rap, hip hop. I mean, full stadium of people. But as you were sitting in the stands and this concert was going on, you're watching Houdini, you're watching the Fat Boys, you're watching all these groups, you would notice from the corner of your eye the crowd parting. It would be a crowd of people sitting down, maybe standing. A song would be being performed, but then somewhere in the stadium it would catch your eye. The crowd would start to part. People, it would just part, uniformly part. And there was a line of dudes walking through the middle. Now, why was the crowd parting like that and these dudes were walking through the middle? Well, they were robbing people. And they would walk the whole stadium, different levels. Sometimes they would be up in the high seats. Sometimes they would be down low, towards the middle or just above the floor seats. And they would be walking and randomly snatching gold chains, snatching earrings, or just beating people up. Now, at that time, I mean, I was so young. I was so into the concert. I remember having my recorder. I used to record the performances on a tape deck on a mini recorder. So I'm recording the show, but I'm looking to see what's going on, and I see these crowds parting because people were getting robbed or beat up. So the crowd would just spread, and it would be 20, 30, 40 dudes beating up one guy or two people. And I remember seeing it across from me in the stadium, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but I realized what it was when that same train of dudes were on the side that I was sitting on, probably 15 to 20 rows below me, and they came walking through. And I remember it was this guy had on some gold chains. That's what Run-D.M.C and them used to wear. And he had on his chains. He's walking with his girl, and they just walked right up to him, snatched his chains, punched him in the face. And if he was with somebody who tried to defend him or protect him, I mean, that was it. Those two dudes, I mean, got beat up from the 15, 20 rows down from me. They got beat up from there down the seats. I'm talking kicked, punched, just the true definition of jumped. I mean, you're getting beat up from one section, you're rolling down and getting slammed and beat up down to another section. Where was security? What was happening? I saw security there. But when you have one security or two guys guarding the entrances, they couldn't do anything against this group of thieves, let's just call them. Um, and this was happening. The reason why I bring this up is because think about the music back then, right? You had Freaks Come Out at Night and My Adidas. Fat Boys were singing Fat Boys. LL Cool J was singing I Need a Beat. And you would think this was before gangster rap. But hip hop or rap had violence in the culture before Ice Cube dropped America's Most Wanted or before NWA came out with their album. There was violence, and I can't really explain why the violence was there, but it wasn't the music. It wasn't because Run-D.M.C was rapping about killing people or beating people up and robbing people. Um, there was violence. There was the violence that followed this music. And I'm not blaming it on the music. There's a lot of places we can go and discuss why the violence is there, and a lot of it probably can even relate to what's going on today, as far as circumstances and where you're shooting your shot from. If you're under the rim, if you were born into a family where you're under the rim and you can take a layup, then you're gonna make your shot. If you're born into a family where things are hard and you're shooting from way beyond the 3 point line, you're gonna miss, so to speak. And I'm talking about opportunity here, right? So we can get into why things were happening, but I won't do that because I'm not a scholar as to why those things were happening. But I just wanted to talk about um, there was violence that was in our music, in our culture, before day one of gangster rap. And I'm sure somebody's going to mention, well, PSK, the PSK record came out in '85, and then Ice-T did a version of that on I'm not sure if it was Colors or that single that took off for him, and maybe that was the birth of gangster rap. But regardless of gangster rap, there was violence following this hip hop thing, and it was in Madison Square Garden in a way that no one could stop it. I mean, we're talking about. I wish there was video on it, not to glorify it, but we're talking about 40 to 50 people walking around, beating people up, robbing people. There was nothing you can do against these guys. And I'm refraining from saying who the group was, just because I'm not here to give up advertising, on my channel, but it was happening. And I went to the Fresh Fest probably 84, 85, and 86, and yeah, I mean these things were happening. So I just wanted to put it out there, and I'll end by saying, even before the music got big, before Run-D.M.C and Houdini and all these people, there was four or five groups that had play on the radio from the rap era, and then everybody else was pop or R&B. Um, but even before that time, you know, where I was from in Brooklyn, New York, we're talking about gangs like the Dirty Ones, the Assassinators. Um, uh, back when Top Rockin' was out. So, you know, I'll probably make more videos just going back and touching on all of these things. Touching on the graffiti wars that were basically gangs. Different crews. Wow, TBK, LES. You know, these gangs or groups have existed before the music came in. And 80, 81, 79, 80, 81. Maybe you're talking about Jimmy Spicer, King Tim the Third, and rappers like that. They weren't advocating violence in the music, but it was still here in the culture. So food for thought. And just a little history on Run-D.M.C's Fresh Fest back in '84. There was violence here before gangster rap officially came in.